There's nothing Paul likes as much as receiving feedback about the Joy of Cruising podcast. You can now send him feedback via the message link on each episode. He can't respond, but he may read your text on air. Welcome to the Joy of Cruising podcast with your host, award-winning author Paul C. Thornton, a weekly conversation with the amazing cruisers featured in the Joy of Cruising trilogy, comprised of The Joy of Cruising, Cruising Interrupted, and new release, The Joy of Cruising Again. Each book is a compilation of features about cruisers and cruise and travel personalities from around the world. It's the next best thing to cruising, hearing about cruising from the unique and diverse perspectives of Paul's amazing guests.
Hello, passionate cruisers. This is Paul, and I'm delighted to welcome this week on the Joy of Cruising podcast, Jared and Jordan, creators of the popular JJ Cruise 60,000 member YouTube channel, blog, Facebook page, and Instagram. From JJ Cruises loveandsea.com, Jordan and Jared are a married couple who loves cruising. They are the co-founders of the popular YouTube channel, JJ Cruise, where they give tips, tricks, and insider information on the cruise industry. Collectively, they have more than 400 nights at sea on over 75 cruises. They have cruised around the world exploring destinations including Australia, New Zealand, Greenland, French Polynesia, Alaska, Iceland, Europe, and the Caribbean. Some of their favorite itineraries include their time spent on repositioning cruises, such as transatlantic and trans-Pacific cruises. I have long enjoyed watching JJ Cruise videos. They told me they are on ships 75% of the year. I can't wait to chat about that. It is now my pleasure to bring their story to the listeners of the Joy of Cruising podcast. Welcome, Jared and Jordan, to the Joy of Cruising podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for letting us be here today. We are happy to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Well, I am happy that you are here. So how are you both doing?
We're good. We are actually home in Indiana for once. And just catching up on house things and land life for a couple more days until we take off actually in 48 hours for our next venture.
Where are you going?
We'll be down in Florida doing just some short Caribbean sailings. Actually, we'll be with clients for a couple of weeks.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
About 2 weeks.
Okay. Not bad duty to have, you know?
I was saying whenever we can spend time with clients in the Caribbean and in the Bahamas, it's a good time.
Yep. Oh, before we discuss JJ Cruise, tell our listeners about yourselves in general. Where you're from, where you live. I think you just said Indiana. How'd you meet? Professional background. Anything you would like to share?
Yeah, completely. So I'm Jared. I am originally from Nebraska, but I moved to Chicago. Jordan's originally from Indiana and Michigan, but moved to Chicago as well for college. And together we met in Chicago. We both were in the fine and performing arts, and our paths kind of met there. I was an actor. He was an actor as well as a musician. And we were able to meet actually during a casting process, believe it or not.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. When I met Jared, he had never been on a cruise before. So this was kind of all pre-JJ Cruise. Chicago was where we called home. That's where we met, where we got engaged, where we came home to after our wedding. And we lived in Chicago up until the pandemic. And then at the pandemic point in time, we moved out of Chicago to Indiana to get a little bit more space, a little bit of land, because at the time, Chicago was completely shut down.
Just since I got Chicago on my brain right now, the podcast that comes out literally tomorrow, although when this airs, it will have come out already. It's a guy who is a Chicago legend. His name is Damon Williams. So he's a comedian, an actor, kind of a big name in radio in Chicago. So
That's awesome. Yeah, no, Chicago is one of our favorite places in the world. It's truly our home, even though we're not there anymore. But Chicago, I mean, if you're there in the summertime, you're in for a treat because Chicago summers are just the most magical places in the world.
Yeah, I enjoyed visiting there when I was in the business world. I've never lived out there though. So let's talk about cruising. When and on what ship was your first cruise?
So I grew up cruising with my family, and my very first cruise ever was on the Ruby Princess, and it was when it was a brand new ship. I think it was somewhere around 2011, 2012 timeframe. I remember stepping on board, and I've always felt this connection to the water. I've always just loved being in water, surrounded by water, have loved the beach. And when I stepped on board, I immediately felt this connection with the ocean. And it was like this new experience that excited me and made me feel this certain way that I maybe hadn't felt before about travel. And so when I met Jared and found out that he had never been on a ship before, I knew that I had to get him on a cruise ship as fast as possible. I probably got him on one too fast, though, before he
Uh-oh. That tells me that first cruise for you, Jared, didn't go so well.
It did not. My first cruise was on Carnival Conquest, and I believe it was purchased from a Groupon back in the day. That tells you a lot. You know, when you're getting a cruise off a Groupon, I don't think that's probably the way you should be going cruising. It was a 3-night cruise. We got food poisoning the first night, and so we were out for 4 hours. There was a lot of problems with some people on board against the crew. It was like it was like a mutiny happening on board. It was something else. So we had one of the worst first cruises together. And Jordan immediately was like, I did not do this right.
He stepped off of the ship and looked at me and said, I will never get back on another cruise ever again. And I was heartbroken because I was like, this is my favorite way to travel.
And now this is your profession. So what went so wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the food poisoning wasn't the best start, but then on top,
that alone is probably enough to ruin it. What else? I should have asked what else went so wrong.
Yeah, and kind of getting more into it, the mutiny that happened on board. There was someone on board that actually had a really good group of friends that he made immediately the first day. He was someone who actually was in a chair, and he was not able to go on a water slide. Carnival wouldn't allow it. And there was a mutiny on board because everyone said that he has to go on a water slide before he leaves the ship. And
he was in a wheelchair.
There he was. He was in a wheelchair. And he could not. He didn't have full functionality of his limbs, and so that was a safety risk for Carnival. So they decided not to allow him down the slide. He had said that he's done it elsewhere before. So this began to be like this thing. And he had a good, 30, 40 people probably behind him.
They had a petition on the pool deck to try and get him down the slide. And they ended up I feel like they kicked everyone out of the pool. It was just like this whole drama on the pool deck about this guy not being able to go down the slide. I also somehow broke out in a rash all over my legs. It was the worst rash I've ever had in my life. And it just so happened to happen on this short 3-night cruise. So I was uncomfortable the entire time. After we got food poisoning, that kind of ruined the food for us on the ship. We didn't feel well the whole time.
And the vibe was off with the passengers with the whole, situation with the water slides. So.
It felt like anything that could go wrong went wrong. And I got, we were a lot younger. A Groupon cruise was what we could afford at the time. And so it was an inside stateroom. I think Jared was so confused by the stateroom too, because all he had done in the past was all-inclusives. And all-inclusives can have these beautiful suites on the ocean. And I don't know what he was thinking that we wanted, but he walked into the stateroom. He was like, this is where we sleep. So I did a very poor job of managing expectations before ever stepping on the ship. That was my bad. I did a lot of wrong things in taking him his first cruise.
I'm going to bet it was an inside cabin too.
Sure was.
Oh, for sure. You did not splurge on a balcony on Groupon.
Yeah, that's wow. I mean, at least the only good thing I can say, the only consolation is it was a short cruise.
Yes.
You know, I was just on a long, fairly long cruise. It was 14 days, and there was this guy. I met him on day one. We just happened to sit next to each other to eat on day one, and then I ran into him on day two, and very emphatically he said, "This is a once and done." I remember as he walked away thinking about he is going to be miserable if he's saying that on day two of a 14-day cruise.
Yikes.
But I hope that he ended up recovering somewhat. I've asked him to reach out to me. I actually did a podcast about that cruise, and I mentioned him by name because we did meet, and he's a nice guy. And I just asked him to message me and assure me that it got better. So go ahead.
That would be a long couple of weeks if you were miserable and not having a good time.
And I will say the guy that we met on our 3-night, the one that couldn't go down the slide, he was a great guy. He was one of those guys that, everyone wanted to root for and be like a support for. And it was our first cruise, so all we wanted to do was relax, but it was very difficult to do that on that pool deck.
Did it have a happy ending? Did he ever end up getting to go?
No.
I kind of was hoping that you would say it had a happy ending, but so how long did you stall before trying it again?
Actually, under a year. I think that was in like August time frame, and then by March, Jared had agreed to go on another cruise, but this time with friends. And because I said, you know what, maybe cruising isn't like a thing that it would just be good for the two of us to go. Maybe we should go with a group. So
what he really did was rally the army of troops to where I had to go, or else I'd miss out. So I went because there was friends. It was on Independence of the Seas for Royal Caribbean, and it was a night and day difference. I had a way better time. The ship definitely gave a better energy from passengers on board. There's no mutinies. We'd had no food poisoning, no rashes on his legs. So it was definitely a better experience. I mean, that ship, and we just went back. We just went back to Independence because we at the time weren't part of, filming or vlogging. And so we had no content from that trip. So we're like, we got to get a ship tour. We got to get some, some clips, some reviews out. So we're working on that now. I think we'd have the ship tour out now.
It was good memories going back and seeing that ship again. But yeah. I was so thankful because he had such a good experience with that ship. He walked off saying, okay, when are we going to book the next one? And I was like, yes.
Oh, that's what you want to hear. So was that a 7-day?
That was just a 4-night. We did a lot of 5. I think it was 4.
It was like 4 or 5 nights. It was a shorter cruise, but it was longer than the 3-night. And it definitely made an impact to be there with friends. I will not say I fell in love with cruising on that cruise. That was the next cruise. But it definitely got me thinking, let's try this one more time.
So it sounds like from something you said, the third time was the charm. So what was the third cruise?
The third cruise was Harmony of the Seas with Royal Caribbean. And that one we did just do, if I remember right, just us two. We didn't have friends. We met people on board immediately, day one. And it was just one of those cruises that you felt everything was perfect in the world. Like you went on board, you met people that were fantastic. We're still friends with them to this day. To the entertainment, the amount of things to do on the ship is incredible. I mean, it's vast. I mean, it's one of the best ships out there for things to do and class of ships to do. And I'm an active person. I love to do things. And that's why I loved all inclusives. You had plenty of activities throughout the day and things to do and water sports, whatever it may be.
That's a difference between Jared and I. Jared is active. He has to have his day filled with things and have to have a lot of things to do. So going on one of the world's largest cruise ships, that checked every bucket for him. Entertainment, things to do, activities. And for me, I can lounge by the pool all day. I can read a magazine. I can chill. So I think that was the first moment we realized, okay, cruising might be for us because he can do his thing, I can do my thing, and at any time we've got each other to lean on, or we can just kind of do what makes us happy. So Harmony of the Seas was definitely the big one that changed things for us as a couple.
Yeah, and I can't say I'm unsurprised. I loved Harmony, and it has special meaning for a couple of reasons. It was the last ship that I went on before the shutdown. So, for a while, and I was probably overly, I'm probably overly stating things, but, for a while when I was really worried about the viability of cruising and it coming back, that would have been like my lasting memory of cruising, And the other special thing about, I've written a series of books on cruising, and on my second book, it's called Cruising Interrupted. Harmony is on the cover. A shot I took from the, what do you call that, air balloon at the up and away.
Yeah.
I got a great shot of Harmony. Always, I can see you falling in love with cruising on Harmony.
She's an incredible ship.
So,
one that we recommend to pretty much anyone that wants to have a good first cruise with plenty to do.
Yeah.
You now got a few cruises under your belt. When and how, what motivated you to start the brand JJ Cruise?
So we started going on cruises, I think every few months, just really short cruises. And on one of the cruises in probably May of 2019, we were on Navigator of the Seas, and we met three guys actually, that spent every single weekend on that ship. They were Floridians, and they would get on the ship every single weekend. And when we met them, they had probably done like 70 or 80 cruises. And it was wild. We just couldn't even believe it. But it sparked a conversation between us.
Yeah, we discussed at that point, is this something that we would want to do? Like, would we want to spend weekends at sea, or would we like to do a little longer vacations on cruise ships? And if we're doing this, we need to start kind of recording our memories for family. If we end up starting a family, having those memory banks for not just us, but for whatever we bring into the world. And I feel like it was one of those decisions that we also saw there wasn't a lot of people like us currently on the vlog space. Interracial gay couple was not necessarily number one, but there is a gay couple out there, Ben and David, who we've met that we love, and they were definitely inspiring to us to say, we could do this too. Not necessarily thinking it'd be much more than just the memory books, but it was definitely a good start to say maybe we should do something on YouTube.
Yeah. We had followed people like Ben and David and like Cruise Tips TV, for a while as we were getting ready for our cruises. And so it was that fall of 2019 where we actually signed up for an official YouTube channel on YouTube, and we started to make content. And I think that Christmas was the first time we put a video out.
November, we did a holiday gift guide.
For
cruising.
Great.
Cruise lovers.
Great.
Yeah. Very first video.
And then, unfortunately, timing-wise, the pandemic happened.
Terrible time.
It's funny because we say terrible timing, but it ended up being one of the best timings given the fact that we still got out there and did stuff before it happened. We were on cruise ships pretty much every month, and then we ended up quitting our jobs to do it full time. Just to, let's take the risk. Let's go out there and just take 6 months to cruise full time. We did that in February of 2020. The absolute worst timing to take 6 months off to cruise full.
Yeah, that's some great timing.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of taking 6 months off, one of you guys, I can't remember which, told me that you're on ships 75% of the year. So help me understand how you do that, and tell our listeners what that's like. Before you answer that, let me just say I did a podcast called Living on Cruise Ships. It was a couple who literally lived on cruise ships almost 12 months a year. But they would it was more like 9 to 10 months a year, because they would take off. One of their parents is very elderly, so they would take off, cut the grass, in the middle of the summer. And then they would always be home for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Other than those times, they were on ships. So I started seeing them on like magazine covers and on the Miami. I can't remember what the paper is in Miami. I was living in Florida at the time. And I reached out to them and they agreed to be on the podcast. That episode is the fourth highest episode of all time. So, and they're not like you. They're not known content creators. They're just a regular couple. But, even overseas, they said they were on an excursion. I can't remember where, Iceland or somewhere like that. And their picture was on the local newspaper. But anyway, so I say all that to say there's a lot of fascination, I think, from listeners. They fantasize. I know I do about living on cruise ships. So when you say you're on a ship 75% of the year.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Do you love all things about comic books? The stories, the art, the characters, the creators? Then listen to Comics Discourse 114, where three friends discuss both current and classic comic books from all publishers and the creators behind them.
Yeah, I'm not surprised there's that fascination, because on the holidays, like when we go home to family, we actually heard that story. Besides, like, they don't watch our channel, but they knew of this article. Like, did you hear of that couple that lives full time on cruise ships? Oh, wow. It was like anyone and their mom and their dog knew about that couple. And they're just fascinated with living at sea. And it's funny because we kind of saw that couple. And we're like, we're literally your relatives. And we do almost the same thing, and you care less. So it's not surprising. Yeah, we do cruise a lot. I think about 2 years ago, we started like 50% of the year.
We started about 50% of the year. And I kind of want to preface the how questions. We get that a lot. How is that even possible? How do we even kind of make that work? Something that we did when we moved from Chicago to Indiana that was very intentional was a massive, massive lifestyle change. So when we lived in downtown Chicago, we had our corporate jobs and we, had the 9-to-5 kind of grind. We lived a lot more comfortably in terms of the condo that we owned, the type of lifestyle that we had, going out most evenings for dinner, kind of whatever we wanted to do, we did. And that was just kind of how we spent our money. We looked at each other during the process of moving and we said, all right, what would we need to do financially to change things up and travel as much as we possibly could? So we, bought in an area of Indiana that is actually one of the lowest cost places to live in the United States. We paid off our car and we've never gotten a new car. The air conditioning doesn't work in our car, but that's okay. We don't drive it very much. And all of our kind of resources we pour into experiences, travel, and bringing that to life on our YouTube channel. So it was almost an alignment that we had together. Wouldn't you say that we were going to do this major upheaval and turn things kind of upside down to invest in seeing the world as much as we possibly could while we're young and we're able
now, are you like this other couple in that they are not tied to, I know of, I've heard of stories about people retiring to live on a cruise ship, and they're on that same cruise ship year round. This other couple,
right,
they jump around. Now, almost on every line, they're well known, particularly by Carnival. I would say that's where they kind of really got their name, but they cruise all lines. Do you guys do the same thing?
Good question. Yeah, we're not aligned with like a Super Mario. We are more aligned with that couple and the fact of we try cruises of all types, all cruise lines. Now, that being said, we will go where the money makes the most sense. That's both in, price of the cruise, but also what it is that we can kind of get out of it and experience for our channel. So if it's a new itinerary that we have never done before, we might spend a little more money to do that, even if it's on a different cruise line or a cruise line we love, whatever it may be, just to make sure that we're doing it for the channel as well as for, I guess, a new experience for us.
Just for the listeners, you were contrasting with that other couple that I mentioned, Super Mario, and just for those people who don't know what that reference was, Super Mario is a gentleman who has been living on a cruise ship actually for a long time, and he does not stay on the same ship. However, he stays on the same cruise line. So he is on all Royal Caribbean ships, and his name is Mario, but he has kind of garnered the nickname Super Mario. So I just wanted to clear that up for the listeners.
Absolutely. And I will say this, we cruised everything from, premium cruise lines to mainstream cruise lines, specialty cruise lines like Virgin and Disney. And we're planning on cruising, luxury and river cruises coming up here too. So we've done a little bit of everything. And we aren't opposed to doing any of it again or, trying something new.
I just got off of Virgin like last weekend. So,
how'd you like it?
New favorite cruise line. I checked off 2 bucket list items. One was I had never done a transatlantic, and I see that you guys are into transatlantics and transpacifics. So that was my first time doing a transatlantic. That was great, and it was my first time on Virgin, but certainly not my last. Right now I'm in this process of trying. My bucket list keeps growing, and I'm trying to check some stuff off. So between 24 and through 25, we've got all of these bucket lists checking opportunities. So I'm booked up, but I'm not booked at all for 26. I can almost assure you my first cruise in 26 will be Virgin. So
Virgin, she's definitely different.
Yeah, she's got a niche to herself. No one competes directly. A lot of indirect competition, but no direct competition. So it's a place you'd like to be in business. So say, before we get off of JJ Cruise, say something about your various platforms. I mentioned your super powerful YouTube channel. I think where you got 60,000 plus subscribers. And then you got you're on Instagram. Do you have a Facebook group or Facebook page?
Yeah, so everything you said. So we're on YouTube, JJ Cruise. You just search that, you'll find us very quickly. But on Instagram, we're Cruise with JJ, because someone already took our name by the time we got rolling. So Cruise with JJ on Instagram. We actually do most of our daily vlog kind of interactions on our Instagram stories. So we do a little differently than a lot of people. We don't vlog a ton on our actual YouTube channel. We do some, but not a lot. If you want to know what we're eating every day on a cruise ship, maybe some activities or shows, just go to Instagram, Cruise with JJ, and click on our faces. Tap our picture, and then you'll see the stories from the day or the previous 24 hours. And then Facebook, we have JJ Cruise FB. F as in face, B as in book. Another thing there, I don't know what it is, but JJ Cruise was not popular, but there's just random pages out there that have that name. So that's why they're kind of different across the board. Those are the 3 main ones that we have currently that we really, I guess, put stuff in there every week.
Yeah, that we're consistent with.
Yeah.
What are you up to at JJ Cruise right now? Just putting vlogs together? Well, I know you're getting ready to cruise again. Anything else you're working on that the group
So we
might want to hear about?
we just got back from what we called a ship crawl. So we've kind of made it our goal to get as many ship tours on our channel as possible. So the whole month of April, we're on 4 different Royal Caribbean ships. We're going on a couple of more ships in May, but we've got a pretty exciting opportunity coming up this summer that is very different for us, something that we've never done before, and something that we're kind of going in with not nervousness, but just anticipation of what it's going to be like. In about a month, we're going to actually be moving for several weeks into a residential cruise ship in Europe. So we'll be getting on board for a portion of our summer while this new cruise line kind of goes around Northern Europe. And we'll be seeing what that experience is like, not being on a mainstream cruise line, but a true residential experience where our neighbors live there full time.
Now, are you at liberty to say the name, or you would rather not?
Yeah, no, we are. It's with Villa V Residences. This is, like Jordan said, a new cruise line. They acquired their ship, and their ship is in dry dock right now. And it was an old, I think Fred Olsen, an old Fred Olsen ship that they have acquired, and now it's the Villa V Odyssey. We're super excited for this experience because we kind of do this on mainstream cruise lines already. The fact that we get on board and we might be there for 4 weeks at a time, 5 weeks, 6 weeks at a time, depending on the itineraries and if they're new and different. And we've done Trans-Pacifics, Transatlantic, some of these longer itineraries. But what we haven't done is really truly live on a cruise ship where everyone else is living there too. One thing you know is mainstream lines, people get on and off, even if you're staying on. And so you have to restart those new relationships. You have different rules and regulations of what you can bring on board than what a residential cruise ship is. And this Villa V Residences is a world cruise. So every 3.5 years, they will be circumnavigating the entire globe. And it's a really cool opportunity that I think we both are so, I guess, happy and feel very appreciative that we're able to try it out.
Approximately how long will you be on that?
We aren't positive yet. So there's still some final things to be put out. So we haven't finalized everything yet. So we don't want to say too much, but our plan is to be there at least for a portion of the first segment because they kind of break it out into segments, which is this summer, hopefully starting in June. The good thing with this is it is a world cruise. So there's a chance that we'll be going back for longer spans or different spans on different segments. But the first one we're focused on is this summer. And that'll be on the first segment.
I'm sure that you have heard, well, I don't know, but have you heard of The World?
Absolutely, yeah.
So I had an episode of a gentleman who lived on The World. Very fascinating episode. If after, you do this, I know that you're going to get a lot of content for your channel, but if you want to come back and tell your story, you have an open invitation.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Sure.
I will say The World, we know a little bit about, and I think the main difference here, at least from the front end, is that this is supposed to be a little bit more accessible to all people. The World is a pricey ticket to get on. This is a little bit more affordable for the average retiree or someone that might have a little bit of extra money in savings to get on board for a segment or to own an actual villa. But it'll be interesting. Yeah. We're definitely intrigued.
And that's why I think you guys will have different stories from the gentleman who was on here, about The World, because, for just one real quick, for example, one of his neighbors, if you will, you addressed him as Your Excellency. So that's the kind of people that he had as neighbors, and you indicated this is kind of more accessible. So I suspect you would have slightly different stories than some of the interesting stories he had. So yeah, let's get together and do that.
Absolutely.
Now, you guys have done group cruises. I think I saw something. I was going to ask you, not almost every, but a lot of content creators are doing group cruises. So I've kind of made it a standard question. Have you done a group cruise, or do you have upcoming plans to do a group cruise? You have, right?
We do group cruises. We love doing them. And we've kind of built, I don't know, like a family with group cruises.
Yeah, I think that we have done 8 in total.
Wow.
And we have 5 that are currently 4 or 5 that are currently announced or in the
Oh
works.
my goodness.
Yeah, so we do a couple, 2 to 3 every single year. And like Jared said, our JJ crew, that's, you know, our people that are in our community have just been amazing to travel with. And it's been such a positive experience for both us and I think the people that join us on our group cruises. We have a lot of fun.
So if you have availability on any upcoming group cruise, go ahead, do a commercial.
Well, I will say this. We have a lot of group cruises coming up here. I think going to jjcruise.com might be the best way, or the Facebook page is where all of them are listed. So if you go to JJ Cruise FB, you will be able to see them all kind of tagged at the top in the highlights, or I think it's called something different there, but the starred post at the top will have all of our group cruises. We're doing everything from Hawaii. We have a Broadway group cruise coming up here where we have everything Broadway themed. There won't be Broadway performers by any means on this ship, but we're Broadway lovers and connoisseurs. So we want to just have a time to kind of really enjoy. We're going to have a pre-trip where we actually see a Broadway show in New York beforehand. So we're doing a lot of different things. We also will be on the brand new Celebrity Excel for a group cruise shortly after she comes out. And we just want to try to do different things with our community. I know our community is one that loves trying new things, and sometimes it's easier to do that with a family, people that you love and adore.
Now, out of that trip that includes the Broadway play, I assume that is embarking out of New York.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yep. So that will be on Symphony of the Seas out of New York City this fall.
Wow.
So yeah, like Jared said, jjcruise.com is always the best way to get in touch and send us an email, and we're definitely happy to hook you up. And everyone is welcome on our group cruises. It is definitely for everyone, and we have a lot of repeat people that come on. They get on one and then they book them all.
It sounds like it must be a fun time.
It's a blast, yeah.
So what do you guys do in your me time when you're not cruising? And if you're cruising 75% of the time, you don't have too much me time.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that our time on land is always very, very short. When we are on land, especially this year so far, it's been a lot of time spent with family, seeing family. We have a new niece and a nephew who we just absolutely adore. So we've gotten to spend some days with them while we've been here. But when we keep it low key when we're on land, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. It's about enjoying kind of honestly, the things that are usual for people that live on land and are kind of mundane, but are like true treats for us. That goes from like even just going to Raising Cane's and having some chicken fingers. Like things that you can't get by doing like worldwide cruises or going to the Caribbean often. Some of those fast foods and
for those
restaurants.
Those that don't know, Raising Cane's is a chicken place that Jared absolutely loves. So
I do love.
Huge treat for him when we get on land. Even things like going to movie theaters, watching reality TV, which is something that we love to do. But we both appreciate the arts. So getting to see things like plays and musicals. I play the piano, getting some time at home, to play music and do music is always a treat for me. And yeah, the normal things like video games.
That's purely you.
Now you guys love theater. Have you been on Icon?
We have. We were on Icon of the Seas for the preview and then for the first week of sailing. And she's beautiful.
Yeah.
So you saw the Wizard of Oz?
We did, and we
because I've had enough people on that I'm beginning to hear Wizard of Oz is the best theater type show at sea. What do you think?
Ooh, good question. I think. All right, we have it narrowed down to what, 3 shows across all cruise lines?
Oh, I think 2, in my opinion.
Okay, go ahead. What are your 2?
I mean, I think the best 2 theatrical productions on a ship. Oh no, you're right. 3. 3. We've got it narrowed down to 3. The best 3 shows on cruise ships would be Wizard of Oz on Icon, Hairspray on Symphony of the Seas, and Beauty and the Beast on the Disney Dream. Those 3 shows are high caliber, and it's like they took them right off Broadway and put them right on a ship.
And I think a close fourth would be Six. That was on Norwegian Cruise Line on multiple ships. That is also an incredible show.
Yeah, I've only of the ones you named. I've seen Hairspray on Symphony. Let's talk about the future. What do you have booked?
Oh, so much. Like you, we book a lot in advance. So we are so booked that we're already booked all the way until mid-2025 fully. And then we have group cruises all the way up and through 2025. But we have exciting things. We have things that are focused more on the Caribbean, and we have new ships. We have a little bit of everything out there. But like Jordan said, we do want to try to get on even just new ships for us so we can do tours. I know that we hope to complete or do a grand slam for Celebrity Cruises, where we have done every single cruise ship that they have, minus their exploration class or expedition class, but every mainstream cruise ship. And we hope to do that by the end of this year.
Yeah.
So of the big 3, you mentioned that you've been on Icon, the big 3 of this year. Have you been on Sun Princess?
We have been on Sun Princess. So we were on Sun Princess just a couple weeks after the ship launched. We were there for half a cruise. They had a media trip. So they brought people on for portions of a cruise. So we got on that ship for 5 nights.
We were on with Don Terrace.
With Don, yeah.
Don's Family Vacation.
And then what about Carnival? Was it Jubilee?
That is the one we haven't done yet. Now, we did the other 2 right when they came out. Carnival Mardi Gras, we were on the preview, as well as the first sailing, and same with Celebration, actually. Carnival Celebration, we were on that first sailing, the Transatlantic.
We weren't able to get on the Jubilee because up until this point, we have committed holidays to family. So Thanksgiving and Christmas has been reserved for family, and the Jubilee came out the week of Christmas this last year. So we weren't able to get on that ship, within the first few weeks of sailing, and then right away after that was Icon and Sun Princess. It's just been kind of a whirlwind.
Well, right before that, we did do Celebrity Ascent, so that was probably our third most recent new cruise ship.
Yeah, Celebrity Ascent. I'm booked on later in the year, and my favorite cruise ship. I said my favorite cruise line is Virgin. But my favorite cruise ship is Celebrity Beyond. So I'm curious as to see, I would think Ascent is everything Celebrity Beyond is, but supercharged. I don't know.
Absolutely. We have the exact same. I mean, good minds think alike, and we agree with you there. That is the best ship out there, Celebrity Beyond, and now Celebrity Ascent's out. And we saw 2 of the 3 shows. And maybe that is the only thing that could maybe edge it out. That and that was the night party.
So they have a party called Shine the Night, which is a metallic party. So pack your metallic clothes for that party. It is the best pool deck party on any ship, maybe ever.
For nighttime especially. Obviously there's sail away parties that can, range the history books, but this one for a nighttime pool deck party, it was pretty awesome.
It's pretty awesome, yeah.
I have you guys been on Virgin?
We have,
yes.
So I went, we went to the Scarlet Night party, and I had a new red shirt. I liked the shirt, but after going to the party, what you made me think of this, I want a shiny red shirt. So what was that ship? Ascent, you were just saying, has that?
Yep.
Celebrity Ascent, Shine the Night. Now, I will say that is probably the one that's equal. And like, we do love Scarlet Night.
Yes.
That night is a fantastic pool deck party. And like you mentioned, you can really have too good of a time on Scarlet Night to where you might not reuse your clothes again.
All right. What is there with all of the cruises you got lined up? Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you. You everything that you have mentioned kind of is in the mega class range. Do you ever go on any small ships?
So funny you ask that now, because we just got off the oldest and smallest cruise ship for Royal Caribbean, and that was Grandeur of the Seas, and then Enchantment of the Seas we did a few weeks prior to that as well. So we do a little bit of everything, and the smaller ships are one of Jordan's favorites.
Yeah, I was gonna say I actually love like the Celebrity Summit. That's a pretty small ship, and that ship is incredible to sail on. We've spent on the Celebrity Summit, I think, almost 45 nights in total.
Yeah.
And I just love that. I don't ever get sick of that ship. I love the size. It's easy to walk from one place to the other. Versus the Oasis class where it's good for my health because I always lose weight running, those decks. But the small ships, man, they've got a special place in my heart.
What we found is it's all about maintenance. It's about upkeep. A lot of these smaller ships are fantastic if they're well maintained. The ones that don't get the maintenance updates they should, that you kind of feel the age. But some of these, one of our favorite ones that we went on for Carnival was Carnival Valor. And that was an older ship, a little bit smaller of a ship for Carnival. And honestly, we had a great time. Now, that one definitely had some unique attributes of the past that we really felt the age there. But overall, we had a blast on the ship.
Yeah, we enjoyed it.
What about River Cruise? Have you scratched that itch yet, or have you considered it at all?
We're currently scratching it.
We are currently scratching it. Yes, I would say stay tuned to the channel because you might see us on a river cruise pretty soon.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see if you beat me to it. I'm booked in August.
Ooh, very nice.
Amazing.
Yeah. So.
I don't think we're going to beat you, but we're going to be close.
We're going to be right behind you.
Well, check out the channel because last week we did a nice one on a river cruise that Paul and Carol, I'm sure you know them.
Yes.
They just got off. Literally tomorrow, the gentleman I mentioned from Chicago, the comedian, he's actually going to be a host on the river cruise that we're going on in August because it's a full ship charter. So the charter company can bring on, some of their, whoever they want. So he's gonna be the host and comedian for the whole river cruise. And then we have one coming up soon. I don't know if you know. Are you familiar with Sometimes Sailing? Mikkel and Dan.
Yes. Yep.
They're going to be on to talk about their past river cruise on Emma Katrina. I can't get it out today. That's actually the ship that I'm going on in August. So I'm actually going to be doing a fair amount of river cruise content in the next several months, partially for selfish reasons. My cruise is coming up, but I suspect many of our listeners, if they haven't been, I suspect have it on their bucket list. So,
oh yeah, we'll definitely stay tuned because river cruises are kind of that whole new world that we haven't fully explored yet, but we know a little bit about because since we are travel agents as well, we do book actually a fair share of river cruises. So we know we have an experience, so we want to experience.
So, well, you guys have done just about everything in cruising. Do you have anything on your bucket list? Some magical place that you want to get to, but it's in the someday part of your mind?
For me, I think Antarctica is definitely on that list. There's two continents that we have not stepped foot in, and that is Antarctica and Africa. So I think South Africa specifically is on that list for me, and Antarctica. What about you?
Yeah, I love both of your options, but I'd also say Galapagos. Would love to do an expedition class ship and do Galapagos. And I also am bummed because we had this booked and we had to cancel it and rebook because of Sun Princess. But an Amazon River cruise. I always wanted to cruise the Amazon. I don't know what it is about it, but I just feel like that would be so cool to kind of truly cruise one of those last fully, just untouched areas. So I'd love to do that. I think for land, we both would love to do a safari.
Yes.
I know that's something that we look forward to do, but for cruising, I think, those are some of the bucket lists.
Yeah.
Well, I am so thankful that we finally got together. I know you got to pack. When are you leaving?
We leave on Friday, so
Yeah,
today
just for 2 days.
Yeah, 2 days.
I was getting ready. So you'll be probably on the water when this airs.
Probably.
Yep. But before we let you go, a couple of fun cruise questions, fun or light cruise questions, and then perhaps a fun oddball question, and it's oddball in that it's not necessarily cruising related. So the first question is an easy one. It's for me to get some ideas, and I will tell you, I get ideas all the time. I can't tell you how many drinks I tried on Virgin Voyages last week solely because of this next question. So that question is, what are your favorite cruise drinks and cruise food?
Ooh. All right. I'm gonna say 2 drinks. And you can do drinks too, but the one drink that we go to every single time if we can, and this is basic, but it's amazing, is Zacapa rum and Diet Coke. I know it's just a rum and diet, but Zacapa with a Z, it is our favorite rum, and it's a lot of times on a lot of the cruise ships. So
Zacapa, I never heard of it.
Definitely try it. It's usually in the premium drink package, and it's great.
It's a rum from South America, so it comes from the town of Zacapa in Guatemala. And
okay.
It's the best rum we've gotten. Our JJ crew really hooked on it too. It's an expensive endeavor because it's not a cheap rum, but when you can find it on the ships, ask for it because it's great.
Yes. But when it comes to mixed drinks, on Royal Caribbean, a BBC.
Oh yes.
Love it every time.
Yep. I love those.
And I love a frozen mojito.
Ooh, yes.
That is one of my favorites.
Frozen mojito. Let me go back to Jared for a second. Tell the audience, BBC, so that's Bailey's banana colada. Okay.
Yes, Bailey's banana colada. BBC is it's frozen. It's almost like it almost feels like a milkshake, and it's that delicious. But if you love banana and if you love kind of a pina colada, then you're probably gonna love a BBC.
Yep. And so you were saying frozen mojito. Do you like flavored or just straight up mojito?
Just our standard mojito, but if you can blend it with ice, they do it at the Boleros bar on Royal Caribbean. I will say I've tried to get a frozen mojito on celebrity cruises and they fail every time. So it's not a drink to get on, to get everywhere. But in the Boleros bar, that is my go-to drink.
Yeah, I like frozen coconut mojito.
Oh,
yes, that sounds delicious.
I need to try that.
Yeah. So
that's amazing.
Yep. How about food?
Well, I will say there is a restaurant on 2, I think, celebrity ships on the Silhouette and the Reflection called the Lawn Club Grill.
Oh, yes. We love the Lawn Club Grill. If you don't know, I am a steak snob because my grandparents grew up, Western Nebraska. So, Omaha steaks or...
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They had a cattle ranch. And so I had steak all the time and it was the best type. And so I don't know anything different. So when I have different, I really am disappointed.
Yeah. And so what was it called?
It's a good steak.
What was it called? It's the 2 older celebrity ships, you said?
It's on Silhouette and Reflection.
And it's called?
Called the Lawn Club Grill.
They have something very similar on the Edge class called Rooftop Garden Grill. And it does have a really good steak as well, but Lawn Club we typically find to have just a little bit better.
Yeah.
The best meal I ever had, and you notice I didn't say I ever had at sea. I ever had was on Celebrity, but it was a new. It was called Le Voyage by Daniel Ballade. It's the most I ever spent on a meal, and the best a meal ever tasted. So
Le Voyage is definitely delicious, and it comes with a high price tag.
Sure. Yes.
And I have to mention, because you just mentioned like your favorite of all, our favorite drink experience of all has been on Sun Princess, because their drink menu on Sun Princess is amazing across the ship. But if you actually go into, what is it called? The special experience.
Oh, good times?
No. The one you pay for, by the castle.
Oh, the Magic Castle
Magic Castle
experience.
experience is like incredible. Spellbound.
Spellbound, yeah.
That is the most amazing cocktail bar that I think we've ever had on a cruise ship. Just every drink you get, no matter what, it's the best looking and the best tasting, and you have as many as you want. It's completely included in the Spellbound experience. That is probably the best one.
Yeah, that Spellbound experience is over the top. It is amazing. I definitely agree with that.
I will keep that in mind. I'm booked on Sun in April 25. So
Perfect. Yes.
yeah,
Don't miss
I've already
that
got
experience.
I've
It's
already
awesome.
got a section in my notes app where I'm just collecting stuff on Sun. In fact, all the cruises I have lined up, every time I hear something about one of those cruises, I'll just add it. So you just gave me something else to add for Sun. Question 2, and you can answer this for you as a couple or you individually. It's up to you. What's your most memorable or funniest or even most embarrassing cruise or port experience?
So I think I'm going to share most embarrassing for myself, and you're going to take the most memorable.
Yeah, I'll take most memorable.
So back in 2021, when cruising came back, we were on Adventure of the Seas, which was, the very first cruise ship to come out of the Bahamas for Royal Caribbean. It was when Royal Caribbean hard launched their cruising back into the
The
Caribbean.
cruise restart.
Cruise restart, yes. And this ship had almost every content creator. If you follow YouTubers and content creators and you're listening to this, you probably saw content come off of that ship because it was plentiful, especially when cruising came back. And we met so many amazing people on that ship. Griff and Alyssa were there. Lalita Loco was there.
Ship show.
The ship show was there. It was just like everybody was there, and it was like one big happy family. Not there's Nancy, she was on one of them, but
Travel Spree, AK Adventures, just so many. Haley with a Flare.
Uh-huh.
So many great content creators.
So we would spend a lot of evenings after filming every day. I think the content creators would kind of gravitate in the casino towards the casino bar. And we'd be hanging out there, just, having a couple of drinks, winding down from the day. And sometimes a camera might be on your face, which is not a problem. But in one scenario, I don't even remember how I did this. I got my flip-flop tangled up in a casino chair, and it busted in half. And there is this lovely video out there. You can find it on YouTube on Ship Show's channel, John's channel, of me with a drink, and I look like I'm a hot mess. My flip-flop is busted in two. I eventually end up without my shoes in the casino. I have a drink in my hand, and the camera's pointed all on me. And I went back and watched that, and I was like, wow, this makes me look like I, bummed my way onto this ship.
And most of these were like people we just met as fellow content creators. So
it was not my finest moment.
Jared, you didn't catch any photos?
You know what? I didn't have to because the video is live on YouTube.
Because I like to tell folks who give me like embarrassing moments. Sometimes they end up, flat on their face. Sometimes all kind of things. And I say, as the social media saying goes, photos or it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So
yes. Well, it's in video.
Yes.
Well, maybe a clip can find its way to me. So how about you, Jared?
Yeah, so most memorable. I mean, we've had so many, so this is like just one of many. But one I will never forget is being in Akureyri, Iceland, and we went to the beer spa there. If you've never been, it is an incredible spa experience. But one of the things you do is actually bathe in beer. Now, this beer is a little bit different. It's not one that you drink, but you do have unlimited draft beer on the side while you're bathing in it. But it wasn't just that experience. It was the fact that we were able to be in this hot tub outside beforehand and after with the most gorgeous views, like views that you only imagine are possible in movies or in dreams, because the view was perfect. And most of the days it's a little bit more rainy in Iceland. So we got so lucky. We had no rain in sight. And it was just the most gorgeous images we've ever had. I think we have a picture of
We
that.
did get a really good picture of that we'll have to send your way, because it was this breathtaking moment where we were, in a hot tub at the foot of a mountain, and it was the most beautiful day in Iceland. I think that, well, one of the most beautiful days I can remember.
Yeah, send me that. Now, two things. So I'm going to Iceland in 25, going to Iceland and Norway, and we will be stopping at Akureyri. So what is the therapeutic benefit of bathing in beer? Supposedly the therapeutic benefit?
So it's the minerals that come off of the hops, specifically, that are good for the skin. And I will say, after we were in that tub, which I think we were in the tub for 30 minutes, our skin was the softest it had ever felt. It's supposed to, well, I think you read a little bit more about it than I did.
Well, the interesting thing is you're not even supposed to shower off. You're supposed to let it just be there when you get out too, and then they give you a massage afterwards. So it was.
My goodness!
Yeah.
You just gave me an excursion. Now, is that a ship excursion or is that a private one?
You got to find on your own. But I will say, getting a taxi and then obviously that together was definitely the most beneficial excursion and one we'd highly recommend. But the taxi definitely pre-planned, because we had to pre-plan a taxi there because sometimes they're a little limited in that town. But we can get some information your way on it for sure.
Yeah. It's not until fall of 25, my first time out of cruising out of Southampton. But again, I have a section in my notes, for that's Norwegian Prima. So I have a Norwegian Prima folder, and I'll add, beer bath, free draft or included draft beer, Akureyri, contact JJ Cruise.
Yep, there you go.
Absolutely.
All right. The third question, this is the oddball question. So I know that some of your social media following is listening, and you have a huge following. So let me say welcome to the many JJ Cruise fans. We certainly hope you have enjoyed listening to the Joy of Cruising podcast, and we'll come back to listen to additional episodes. And you can follow the Joy of Cruising podcast on Instagram, and you can join our Facebook group. So if we're so lucky as to get a photo of Jordan tearing up his shoe in the casino, come to the Facebook group, and I guarantee you will see it. Say one thing that my listeners and your fans and followers don't know about Jared and Jordan.
Ooh, it's a good question. You want to go first or should I?
Oh, you should go first.
I should go first. I think the one that most people don't know, there may be a few people out there that know it. But I actually used to have a speech impediment growing up. That is something that I had to conquer as a kid, where I wasn't able to speak with the proper pronunciation of everything. I got my R's and L's twisted a lot. So whenever I was yelling for a fault in tennis, that would be a fart in tennis. It was not great.
I didn't mean to laugh at you.
No worries. I've overcome it.
I wasn't expecting that.
Once in a while, I still have it happen. But I've had really good. I actually went to a speech therapist as a kid early enough to where I hated doing it, that I just forced myself. I was like, whatever I do, I'm going to practice every day to make sure I don't have to go being with the speech therapist every single day of the rest of my life. And that was enough will to get me through it. But I know I'm one of the lucky ones. I know there are people out there that have speech impairments for the rest of their life. So I was lucky to be able to overcome it.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I hope that at least, one listener can relate to what you're saying and can benefit from what you're saying. And so, again, listeners, I didn't mean to laugh at it just came out of nowhere. How about you, Jordan?
So this is not nearly as funny one or anything really exciting. But outside of cruising, I do think that both of us are experts in the cruise space. We know a lot about cruising. We're travel agents now, and we've kind of become, people with a lot of knowledge when it comes to cruising. There's something else that I have a lot of knowledge about that's totally off the wall and bizarre. I spent 10 years before I was in the cruise space working in the air quality space. So I know about everything there is to know about air purification, cleaning the air, and how air moves with particles and allergies and all of that kind of stuff. And it's not something, it's like when you think about being a little kid and growing up and becoming an expert in something, never did I think I would become an expert in the world of air. And Jared, I think, got really tired of hearing about that. So that's when he was like, you know what, maybe cruising is a good idea.
All right. I have to just say he has a way better one that he never does, and I have to do it for him. Jordan is an actual composer, and his work actually has been done on the stage of 54 Below in New York City. If you're
wow.
An incredible venue that only some of the best are able to do. And he wrote an entire show and was performed at 54 Below with other artists from New York and Chicago. And I do have a link to, I think, that album that was recorded at 54 Below. So I can share that with you as well. But he's super talented, and he never talks about it because he's a humble guy. But I will, because I'm not.
Well, there you have it, friends and fans of Jared and Jordan. You now know their innermost secrets. Well, at least the innermost secrets that they're willing to share with you. So, Jared and Jordan, thank you so much for coming on the Jared Cruising Podcast. All the best with JJ Cruise. I know you'll be back. Or I know I will invite you back. I hope you accept, because you guys are leaders in the cruise space, I want you to share through me your reflections of what it's like to live on a cruise ship. So, like I said, you have an open invitation. Let me know when you're ready.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having us on this podcast. We're really glad that we were able to make this happen when we were able to, and this is one of those things that we want to make sure anyone listening of the JJ Crew, definitely make sure you do follow and listen to more. We've listened to so many of the podcast episodes, and they're a joy. They're great. Yep. They're truly a joy of cruising. So
thank you.
Definitely recommend it. So make sure you follow along, whatever social media platform you may be doing. And obviously, make sure you're subscribed for those podcast episodes so you get notified.
Well, thank you. Thank you. As I like to say, we'll see you on the ocean.
Yes. Thanks for having us. See ya.
The Joy of Cruising and Cruising Interrupted, each $16.99 plus shipping, and new release, The Joy of Cruising Again, for $18.99, can be ordered at the link on thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com. For each of the 3 books, use the discount code Joy of Cruising Podcast and get $4 off. The Joy of Cruising books are also available at Amazon. Order the ebook at Amazon or your favorite online retailer. Stay in touch by joining the Joy of Cruising Podcast Facebook group or following the Joy of Cruising Podcast on Instagram. We're constantly adding new shows. Please leave a review and tell a friend about us. We hope you enjoyed this brief escape to the ocean. See you next week.